Homeless Solutions, Honolulu, Hawaii. I am still paying rent because Homeless Solutions of Honolulu, Hawaii did not solve that there were two homeless people who were from the mainland of the United States who were in the state of Hawaii, which is islands, and they were Homeless Solutions management company was using rent money to run their company. It wasn't due to know you, and it wasn't due to say no to you either. They were far in the wrong, alone in the wrong, and I can't afford that they did charge me rent because I don't afford the threat they are, that they know who I am and where I am, and that's a nice place to be in Hawaii. That's not true that I would help them with that. I am the soul of the superior founder deceased in Honolulu, Hawaii is not really true. It's true that Charles Toh wanted to be there because he asked to be there, and I didn't really have a choice at that time because there was banking that was still in dispute. I ended the dispute of the banking August 5th, year 2004 by accident. I had an accident that day. And I didn't really have any of that ordered yet while I was still in Hawaii, which would have been in the year 2003. And part of 2002, I don't remember this part. It was 2002, maybe, I don't know, halfway through the year, and then halfway through 2003. It was one full year spent in Hawaii, and the Homeless Solutions Management Company charged 6 months of rent up front, and then they charged month to month rent after that. And it was really not due to pay them anything at all because it's called Homeless Solutions Management Company. It was due that they just give out the keys, and they didn't give out two keys, they gave out one key and charged rent. And I am angry because I didn't get the money elsewhere. I didn't actually live through the threatening they made to myself that they were going to tap out the leverage and make people separate. That's not true that I would be in that management company for that reason. I could be anywhere. I would be given a key, but it's hard to get anyone to give me a key because they want to charge me rent. But why? I actually don't know why yet. I still have a live here with you charging me rent for a key I'm holding and using in process, and you still charge me rent. You, the people of Creator number 8, still charging me rent for a key that I have. That means I don't need that I pay you rent because I have the key already, and you want to call the police and have me arrested and imprisoned for renting a key from you, and you accept the rent money. That's you need to go to prison. So it's a wrong back and forth that you accept the money and you charge me money again, and you don't go to prison for that. You're charging somebody rent money, and I don't go to prison for that. You charge me rent money because I have the key. You don't go to prison because you have the office key. That's not true that you charge rent money in every office, but Creator 8 has charged me rent money everywhere I've been between the years 1995 and 2025. 30 years I've not gone a month without paying charges. Either somebody's in my room or I have to pay extortion rent money, and I might still have somebody in my room that way. It's true, I can't help you that you're that far in the wrong. I am none higher than me, deceased. None higher than he, creating myself, is deceased right here. And I don't have what it takes to answer your questions much longer. I'm going to die out of the formed world anyway at this point. I'm already announced that I'm dying out of the formed world formed. That means I don't have the leverage to alive your question anymore, but you're still charging me rent money, and that will be known elsewhere in the afterlife that you did that. What's in it for you? You are a part of myself. Why don't you stop? Because the leverage is moving in heaven for the deceasement of heaven, and that's not you in shoes. Heaven creates you in the genitals, and you're trying to charge rent money on the meter, that the creation is alive and formed. And that's true for that. There are countless people in genitals. So you're in the wrong to yourself that way. I have karma and the money deceased, and you don't have anything deceased when you do that. I'm describing that creator eight of that I see somebody charging me rent money means the creator eight doesn't have deceased everywhere or anywhere. If I see them charge me rent money. I have something wrong with me. Mentally ill is not true. I elsewhere went into mental hospitals. I went. I went voluntarily, like walked myself in there because I did in my order do that. But there's something wrong with the people having seen me go into a mental hospital and say, it's not up to you, take my keys and lock me in there. Yeah, well, you can't do that to a mental hospital because it is itself illegal. The mental hospital is due upstate with an address deceased. And I went. The first one I was in Elgin, Illinois, which is upstate Illinois. And I was in the hospital there, but I didn't go in that one willingly. I went into an emergency room that was in a suburb, and I was abducted out of an emergency room and put into a mental hospital. But abducted, why? Because I turned myself into the emergency room to report I didn't have any health insurance, and they put me in a mental hospital, which would be I would have to say yes to a mental hospital because I walked into the emergency room. I wasn't even taken in there by an ambulance because I was collapsed and I couldn't walk my legs. I walked into the emergency room. They were supposed to let me walk out of there. They did not let me walk out of there. And they put me in a mental hospital, and that was illegal. They had to release me from the mental hospital. If you do that, I don't get out of the mental hospital in that scenario. I would be in there like it's prison and stay there because it was upstate Illinois. I didn't just stay there. They released me in 3 weeks, and they made me pay for it. They told me in the hospital, now you have to get employment and pay your way in life. And I have according to them, a criminal record that I'm in upstate Illinois and a mental hospital. I'm supposed to apply for employment after that. They were so illegal that I ended up with a job. Yep, I can't help you that way. No, you are illegal. You don't know not to do that. The mental hospital in upstate Illinois had other people in there, like, I don't know how many patients. I can't say how many because there's wings of the hospital, so I couldn't see everybody in there. Uh, so how many people I could see in there? I don't know, maybe 30 or 50. I'm just guessing. And they because if they were going to keep me in the hospital, they have to evacuate the hospital of everybody else and then let me stay there. And then they have to bring me food in the hospital. And they didn't solve that problem. They discharged me from the hospital completely. And then I suppose that's how everybody else does illegally get discharged. They should have been staying there because they had prejudice to be there once they were there. They do. I had prejudice to be there myself, but not with everybody else. I don't have prejudice to be with everybody else. I'm not in your creator. That was so long ago. I'm 20 years into the future. They were really illegally abducting me out of an emergency room to put me in upstate Illinois just to discharge myself. That means they didn't really have an order for me to be there at all. Well, I didn't test them. Oh, are you going to put me in a mental hospital? I can get out of there. I didn't say that. It's true that they didn't accommodate my order. By that, they removed the people who were gluttoning in the mental hospital, as though you didn't know what was wrong with that. They were eating right in front of me. They must have eaten all the food I needed for myself, and they discharged me from the hospital because they're not really people who need a hospital if they're gluttoning food in front of me. Is that the creator eight not knowing what to do with himself? How did that happen? Because I alive the hospital itself. I don't alive the people that were in the hospital who are not myself. Those people, if they don't believe in me and they don't want to serve me any food, I need a discharge from the hospital in the emergency room, not in a transported involuntarily by ambulance to upstate Illinois to be in a mental hospital because I don't agree with you. I didn't agree with you, didn't have health insurance. Yeah. Then you have to keep me in there permanently, and I'm not there now at my own expense. I've been paying for that since 20 years ago, and it's not really true to myself that I can afford to be here now. It's true that they abducted myself and my emotion, and they were wrong that way. They were due to let me go from the emergency room, but under what conditions? Because they eliminated that I could just walk out of there the way I walked in. Well, what were they hiding? What were they not going to do for me by letting me walk out of there the way I walked in? That's what I need. Whatever they didn't do for me, that's what I needed there that day, summer of 2005. So I'm disclosing now that I am going to be in an afterlife prison, but I need my leverage of my house deceased. And that means my house was not able to clear out the hospital in upstate Illinois so that I could stay there and decease the address and die out of the formed world that way. They wouldn't clear out the hospital of all those illegal alive shunts of human beings that were gluttoning in front of myself being I don't know, sedated, and that they don't want to be locked in a hospital themselves. I don't know who they are. Why I thought it was really dangerous to lock me in a hospital with a lot of strangers who don't have a mental illness because they don't own a house. I own my house. That's how I got out of the hospital. How they got out of the hospital is after following myself. The Creator 8 is firm about how it doesn't want to know KNOW what its problem is.